Think about when you were a kid and you went to spend summer times with your grandparents or cousins or something like that, and it was slower. You didn't have to rush from one thing to another. We're going to talk about that today. Who appreciates the disconnected areas of your life right now? And I'm not talking about just electronic. I'm talking about you're disconnected from your day-to-day. Okay? Anybody have those areas? Where are those areas at? I'll name a couple for you. The mountains. Right? We don't live in the mountains. We can get out and go to Colorado. We can be in the mountains. What about the deer lease? Anybody have a hunting place they go, or the camp that you go that you can disconnect from where we are? What about vacation? Okay. I'm going to hit on a little bit of these as we go through today and talk about how we don't do a good job transitioning, okay? And why we need to do that. Does anybody sit for just a minute before you start something else? Guys, we're pretty good at this, right? Just let me sit down for just a minute and take a break. And then we don't ever go do what we're supposed to, right? But that's a type of transition. And what I mean by that is instead of bouncing from one chaotic environment to another chaotic environment to another chaotic environment, stopping for just a moment, just for a little bit to sit down. Anybody ever seen Crocodile Dundee? Yeah? That's a pretty good movie, right? So who's the main character? Crocodile Dundee. Mick, right? Mick Dundee. Mick Dundee comes from a little place in Australia called Belongamik. Belongs to Mick, right? And he ends up, long story short, getting brought to New York City. When he gets to New York City, what a culture shock, right? He lives in a place where he doesn't have to worry about transitions. It's part of life. He's going from one place to another. And when he gets to New York, it's crazy, wild. But what does he say to everybody when he meets someone? Good day, mate, right? That's a part of a transition. Just to stop, say hello to that person, let them know who you are, and then move to the next thing. Those are transitions we don't use anymore. How is it whenever you're walking in the mall nowadays? You don't even look at people most of the time. Or you're out somewhere in public. You don't even look at them. You've got to get in the store, get what you went for, and get out and go on to the next thing. At least guys do. We don't like to shop. All right? We don't slow down. But my point is, we don't even pay attention to those around us. We're not even taking transitions. We get in, we get our stuff, and we get out. We don't pay attention to what's going on around us. There's a lot of times where there's stuff going down and you didn't even know it because you weren't paying attention to anything around you because we have to go. So some examples today that kill our transitions. One of them is really eye-opening, even from 50 years ago, is transportation. We can be sweating in Houston and checked in and ready to go skiing in Colorado in 6 hours. There's no transition there. You go from your house to the airport, plane, land, airport, drive to the mountains, get out. You didn't even have time to move from one place to another mentally. So it's like your body and spirit and soul haven't even caught each other yet. You're already there. You're gone, right? We can drive from the humid mold pit of southeast Texas, and in 4 hours we can be in the arid desert area of the hill country or West Texas and be there in 4 hours. We didn't have time to transition. We're there. Have you ever taken one of those work trips? I do it quite often when I have to. We go to Austin to go meet with the state agencies that we work with. We will leave at 5 a.m., drive to Austin, meet with the state, turn around and come back and be home for dinner so that we can do our regular running. I didn't have any time to move from one spot to another. It's just constant go. Because driving does not count as transition, in Texas especially, right? Because we're all crazy drivers. Not to mention international travel, and that's one of the examples that's given in the book, is that you can go from New York City to a lion in your lap in Africa in less than a day. How crazy is that? Going from New York to Johannesburg, get out and you got a lion in your lap. Jumping from one reality to another, even trying to get to sleep where you're going. Anybody have that problem? I do not. Whenever you fly from here, you get somewhere else and you're jet lagged and you're so tired you can't sleep, or you're wired. It's 2 a.m. and you're wired and you can't go to sleep. A lot of people have that. There's no transition there. Has anybody ever taken a family vacation or a weekend trip like some folks are doing right now? There's a fishing tournament going on for those of you who don't know, and a lot of our students are in that fishing tournament this weekend. So they will go to the lake Friday to pre-fish, fish all day Saturday, Sunday morning wake up and fish, get the boat back on the trailer, come home, wash everything down, unpack, go to bed at midnight, wake up at 5:30 or 6 o'clock Monday morning, and go straight back to work or school. There's no transition there. And we do it all the time because it's so much part of our life now. We do it all the time. Even our daily run-of-the-mill lives, just the regular day-to-day. And that's what Caitlin's going to tell us about. I want you to tell us about a typical Wednesday at your house.
Okay. Alarm goes off at 7:05, and everybody gets dressed really quickly because we didn't wake up with a 6 o'clock alarm, we woke up with a 7 o'clock alarm, happens every day. Everybody is dressed, breakfast ate, teeth brushed, in the car at 7:35, drop off one kid at 7:40, next kid 7:45, next kid 8:05, get to work by 8:35, which I work in 30-minute increments, so I do 8 to 12 30-minute increment treatments throughout my day. I drive between 4 schools, drive back to be back at Hampton Intermediate by 3:35 to pick up kids. And then pickup's done by 4:05, and then we pick up whatever the house looks like because we host a small group on Wednesday nights. So we make the house look like we don't live in it. And then we divide between 2 houses for 2 small groups, make sure we have dinner plates, whatever we're providing for that day. Small group ends at either 7:30 or 8. Then everyone comes home, eats a second dinner because they didn't eat enough at small group. And then showers, bed, and each kid gets tucked in, and I lay down with the baby, and day's over.
So is that restful?
No.
No, it's not restful at all. So take that and apply it to your life. Think about your day. Think about your ins and outs of every day. You get out of the bed in the morning and you have a routine all the way till the time it's time to sit down in the afternoon. All right? Even funerals. And this is a big one. This is one that he pointed out in this book, and I didn't even think about it. There was a time where a funeral was a day-long event. And what I mean by that, you get together with family, you have the service, you talk about the deceased, you talk about the impact they had in your life. You had the ability to think. You had the ability to slow down. You had the ability to put your mind in neutral for a little while. Then you could have a recession. You could have anything that you wanted after that with the family for the day, and you just kept it easy and kept it slow. We don't do that anymore. What do we have to do? We go to work, got a friend that passed away or a friend of the family that passed away. You got to get to the funeral, then you got to get back to work. Or, heaven forbid it's on a Saturday, you got to go to the funeral and you're in your baseball clothes, right? Ready to roll so you can get to the game. Or there's a birthday party immediately after. So you leave the funeral, you go straight to the birthday party and you get busy. I mean, it's just like constantly. And I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a minute. Heather's going to hate me for this one. I hate filling the schedule. What I mean by that is if there's a hole somewhere, if we don't have anything to do Tuesday night, I don't want to have anything to do Tuesday night. But my wife likes to find something to do on that Tuesday night. We don't have anything to do. And so I tell her, stop filling the holes. Stop. Quit. Because I don't like that. I like to be able to have those times where we have nothing planned. So I can sit on my butt, right? And just chill out for a little while. Or do something that pops up that we need to get done, right? But we don't have to fill every 15 minutes of our day. Off my soapbox. All right. I want you to think about Jesus and the disciples. So we're gonna go from our day, our craziness, and think about Jesus and the disciples. How did they get from place to place? They walked. Or they rode an animal. But most of the time they walked because animals are stupid. Right? Yes, absolutely they were. I'd rather walk than ride a horse, just honestly. So it's just me. Anyone ever watched The Chosen? Anybody watching that as it goes along right now? So in The Chosen, there's a lot that they can't biblically put in order, right? Because there's biblically there's nothing there. So think about, I just pulled out John 1:43. It says, the next day Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. So he was near the Jordan River and he's going to Galilee. That's all it says. And then he's in Galilee. So go back to the chosen and think about the chosen. They have to get from one place to another. So what does the writers of that show, the guy's name is Dallas Jenkins who wrote it, he has a liberty to take during those shows. And that liberty he takes is to fill in those spots, the in-between, right? The stuff that's not written specifically about. We know a little bit about it, but we don't know specifically. So he gets to fill the holes in, right, with things, the in-between, the transitions. So you can't tell me that a group of 12 guys with Jesus, it would take them 3 days to get from where they were on the Jordan to Galilee by walking, okay? You can't tell me they didn't sit around a campfire. Everybody knows what happens around a campfire. A bunch of storytelling, right? Or a bunch of questioning. That was the opportunity for the disciples to talk to Jesus and ask him, this is what you said where we were today. What do you mean? What are you talking about, right? And fill in those holes. Do we take those opportunities and those moments in our life? No, we don't. We don't have them. We don't have the ability to do them. Excuse me. They sat under the stars. They had the opportunity to look up and look at all the different things that are in the sky. You ever watch the night sky? You ever just stop and watch the night sky? Heather and I do that pretty regular. We'll lay on the driveway and look up, and you see stuff, right? You see things moving that you don't know what they are. So they have really cool apps for your phone that you can get, and you can look up in the sky and you see it's a satellite. It was launched by the Japanese in 1984, blah, blah, blah. So it's neat. You can see things up there moving. You can follow constellations in the sky. You can find all kinds of things that you don't pay attention to. They had that opportunity. They're laying around a campfire. They didn't have iPhones. They have tablets, right? Stone, I guess. But they had to look up in the sky, or they had to talk to the guy next to them. Or they did something, right? They made something. They weaved things. They did different things. They took that time to slow down. So, again, you ever been on a hike? Anybody ever go on vacation to go on a hike? We like Big Bend. We like to go down to Big Bend. When you're on a hike, you can be in a hurry to get from one point to another, but the likelihood of you being there in a hurry ain't very good, right? It's going to take you a minute. And along that way, what do you have to do? Let me stop for just a minute. So if you ever get an opportunity, there's an outdoor humorist named Patrick McManus, and he wrote 24 books. In one of the books, he talks about going on a hike as an adult with someone who was from the mountains and him being from the flatlands. He said, I had to stop and take pictures of all these rare flowers the whole way up. It was his excuse to stop because he couldn't breathe, right? So he would stop himself and the guy would come back and do what are you doing? Well, I found this exotic flower. And I just talked. So there's those opportunities for stopping and taking that transition just to slow down and walk. Now, we take those opportunities, those slowdowns, those transitions from time to time, and we call them lazy. Right? If you, wives, if you see your husband sitting down, he's not doing anything. Sometimes we are lazy, just to be honest. But there's a lot of times where we don't, as a human race anymore, take a transition. We don't stop for just a minute. We're looked at as lazy. You're not doing what you should be doing. Or that guy just sits all the time. Or when y'all go on vacation, y'all don't do anything. I love going on vacation and doing nothing. Sorry. So I'm going to read an excerpt out of this book real quick for you guys. Apply this to your life, okay? The EMT who leaves the scene of a terrible accident races to get to his Bible study group. But the entire time he's there, he's thinking about what happened, of where he raced from. But he wonders afterward why he didn't find God at small group. The school teacher who comes home exhausted from a day hurting a riotous classroom tries to be present to her own child but can't seem the right gear to do so. The modern pastor who needs to be a real estate expert in one meeting, a trauma counselor in the next, a caring friend over lunch, only to shift gears into a savvy corporate CEO for the business meeting that follows. We are forcing our souls through multiple gear changes each day at each hour. And after years of this, we wonder why we aren't sure what to say when a friend asks us, "How are you?" We don't know. We don't know who we really are. We don't know why we were really running like we were running. We aren't sure what feels anymore. We live at one speed, and that speed is go. All the subtleties of human experience have been forced into one state of being every day. So I want to ask, how many of you have been pausing lately? Okay, you know what I'm talking about? Once you, like I said earlier, it's kind of crazy at first. You feel weird at first, feel strange at first. John has a very strange voice, if y'all never listened to him. So when you do the app, do the pause app, it's strange, okay? But what sort of madness are we living right now that 1 minute of pause feels luxurious? 1 minute out of your day feels nice and luxurious, right? Now, all that to be said, how do we recover these transitions in our lives? So when I say that, that means you're going to have to change your pace. So how many of you are anxious when I say you got to change your pace? Because now you don't know where you're going to fit it in, right? Right now you get that anxiety, that feeling of, oh, I can't do this. If our souls are truly the vessels that God wants to fill, and our hands are clenched and nothing else can get in, we can't be filled. So like Stephen said the other day, the vessel that we are is full of stuff. And when we pause, it is not to empty ourselves. It is to take what's in us out to be filled by God during that time period. Not to pray, not to think, nothing, just be. That's impossible for us to do as a human race unless you practice it, okay? So what we have to do, we have to open our lives and we have to name where we need transitions. So think about your day-to-day and think about where you need a transition. Then you have to give that to God. You have to say, I've got to slow down here and here and here. I've got to slow down for a little while. You'd be surprised. You're going to find spots in your life where you can do this fairly easily. I'll talk about mine in just a minute. Start with traditions. Let's talk about traditions for just a minute. And what I mean by that is, does anybody have a family vacation that they go on every year, every 2 years? Has it become a checkbox rather than a vacation? Are you doing it just to check to say, we went this year? Sometimes those types of things, a family reunion, you go just so you can say, check, we went. We were there. We had to put our name on the list. We were seen. We check it. We move on about our business. Yanking ourselves out of a vacation time period, or out of the wilderness for me in particular, and throwing myself or my family back into the daily grind is brutal. And you don't realize the toll it takes on you until you have the opportunities to stop. I'm going to dive off into some technology for just a minute. What about technology? The invention of the microchip was intended to make things easier and faster so that we had more time to do the things that we wanted to do. We did exactly the opposite. We made it easier and faster to do the things that we needed to do, but we filled the holes in. Instead of taking a job that used to take 5 people to do, it now takes 1 person to do, because you don't need all the rest of you don't have to type, right? Most of the time you don't have to type. You don't have to send letters. Back to technology. Let's talk about technologies for just a minute. Excuse me. We used to escape reality into the internet, okay? So most everybody was in here when the internet was non-existent, right? And then we came into the internet age. Do you remember whenever you used to take a break from reality to go to the internet to look for stuff, right? But it wasn't your day. Now we exit the internet to escape to reality. That's backwards, right? We shouldn't be doing that. We should be living in reality and escape to the internet if we need to. But unfortunately, we were talking about this morning outside. Our kids, from the time they're born to the time they probably die, their entire life will be electronic. You know, our jobs now, my 99.9% of my job is electronic now. There's very little that's done through paper anymore. There's very little that's done through open communication anymore. Everything is electronic. Everything is supposed to be faster and easier, and it is turned into and came into every room of our house, every room of work, every room of a store, every church. I mean, look what we're doing right now. I've got an iPhone in my back pocket that I'm audio recording this morning. We got a screen behind us. These little phones go with us everywhere we go. They make things faster and easier. This is a good jump. We went from writing letters to sending emails. Then we went from sending emails to sending text messages. We've gone from texting to IMs. We've gone from IMs and texting to emojis. We don't even have to write sentences anymore. You can say everything you want to say with pictures. All right, we're going backwards. We're going to be hieroglyphs on a cave wall at some point, right? But you don't have to type entire sentences because it's all done through emojis now, or GIFs, GIFs. What's that? Auto text. Yeah, you don't even have to type. And that's an amazing thing, right? When you're writing a sentence, it learns what words you use and it starts populating them for you. I like it. Shouldn't do it. All right. Anybody know Elon Musk? You know who Elon Musk is, right? Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, so on and so forth. I have a man crush on the guy. Just be honest. He's one of those guys that I look up to because his mind is 30 years past where we are right now. Something, and this is cool but scary at the same time. You, Ricky Frazier, are more knowledgeable than anybody that existed in the world 30 years ago, right now. Do you know how that is? I'm positive. Y'all believe that? With the invention of the smartphone, you have the internet in your pocket. So 30 years ago, you're sitting at a campfire with a bunch of guys, and y'all are arguing over the firing order of a Chevrolet engine. Y'all might fight about it for a week, right? Now you can, right now, I can tell you what it is. I can tell you every year the firing order to the engine, right now. So you have more knowledge at your fingertips right now than anybody in the world did 30 years ago. So you are smarter with your phone.
It cuts down on the line too.
Right.
Around the campfire.
Around the campfire, right. So you can Google right now. Elon Musk has capitalized on this. Have you ever heard of this company called Neuralink? If you haven't, go read it. Find out what it is. We have a bandwidth issue. So right now when you're sitting around a campfire and you're arguing about something, you have to think about it. Your brain tells your fingers, put it in your phone. You look it up on the internet. You read it. It goes back into your brain, out your mouth, and you tell everybody else, right? He's taken away that bandwidth issue. Neuralink is the ability to bridge that gap. All you'll have to do is think about what you're looking for, and you'll know it. Okay? It's a scary concept. So you will have an implant that you can think about what you're looking for, and you'll know it right now. And he made the comment, we will have to make a decision as a human race to do that. And if you make the jump, you can't go backwards. Once it's in, you're in. So they asked him, are you going to do it? He said, no way. That's a scary thing. It's kind of cool to think about, but man, you could answer some questions then, right?
Do anyway.
With the right answer. So think about that for just a minute. So back to our fast-paced schedules. Hebrews 12, 1 through 2 says, let us run with endurance. Remember that word. Let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by fixing our eyes on Jesus, the champion that initiates perfect faith. Endurance. What does endurance mean? Strength over the trip, right? So if you think about these endurance runners, I work with a guy named Brent Williams who runs 100-mile races. That's an idiot, in my opinion, right? I mean, this guy comes back to work with toenails missing off his feet because that's how they run for 24 hours from start to finish. But along the way, they don't run straight 24 hours. They got to take these little endurance breaks, right? So you have to pace yourself. If you run as fast as you're going to run the whole race in the first mile, you're probably going to be out of luck, right? So you have to pace yourself. We're not doing that. We're not running endurance. We've replaced the endurance race of life with a triathlon. That's what we were talking about earlier. You are coming out of the water, taking your wetsuit off, putting a bicycle helmet on while you're jumping on a bicycle. That's how we're living in life right now. That's the race we're running. That's the wrong race, right? We're not supposed to be bouncing from one thing to another immediately like that. We're supposed to be taking these transitions. So name places in your life where you can put transitions. I made a small list and I'm going to ask you for some. Your morning, before you leave for work or school, when you get to work or school, before we leave to come home, picking up the kids in the afternoon while you're waiting on them, once you're at home, before you eat, before you do homework, before you go to bed, before you put the kids to bed, at work, between tasks. Take your lunch. I hate when I hear people say, I'm so busy I didn't even have time to eat. Don't. Okay? That's not going to happen with me. But my point is, take your lunch. Take these pauses. Take your vacation. You were given your vacation by your employer for a reason. Take it. I can't say much. I was the world's worst for a long time. I'd roll 2 and 3 weeks over every year because I didn't have time to take it. Malarkey. I had time to take it. I didn't take it. Who was I trying to impress? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Long gone are the days of working for a company for 45 years and retiring, right? We on average, we job hop about every 5 to 7 years. We're going to go somewhere else. So, take your vacation. You're not impressing anybody. Stop filling in the gaps. Stop filling in the holes in your schedule with stuff. Don't worry about it. If you don't have anything to do, you don't have anything to do. You can come home and fix the piece of trim that's been broken for months and months and months. What else? What are some other places you can put transitions in your life? Where? Something else. I named every one of them. That's pretty good. Yeah.
When you're driving.
No, when you're driving. The weekend. Yeah, those two. What else? Do anybody have a job where you work by yourself? So you're your own boss, right? For the most part, right? So you have the ability to work in stuff into your schedule, right? You have the ability to say the slots in, right? Some other things in our life that I want to talk about now are called divine disruptions. What do you think those divine disruptions are? When I say that, what do you think about? God trying to get your attention, right? So sometimes He makes us transition, right? We don't have a choice. And some of these we make more of than they actually are, but a lot of times it's Him. So have you ever gotten any disappointing news? Right? Oh man, you wanted this and this happened. You got some disappointing news. What about a hassle or a roadblock that you've been trying to get over forever and you can't get past it, whatever the case may be? What about a setback? Man, y'all were on fire, y'all were doing all these things, and you had your house in place, and Harvey flooded, and you had to start all over again. Or you were working on an antique classic car or something like that, and it caught on fire. You got to start over again. You have setbacks with things in your life. Name some. Those are the things that are in your head right now. Name them. Maybe God is trying to stop and put His loving hand in your life and telling you to hold on just a minute. If we twist the way that we are looking at the things that happen in our life that God may be intervening for, it would change the way we think about needing to get them done. If we'd slow down, I put a list of these here. A traffic jam. Woo, I don't like a traffic jam. I hate sitting still. I'll drive 50 miles out of the way to go around standing still. That's just me. Maybe we took those times that we have a traffic jam in our life and we just slow down a minute. Take that opportunity to breathe. It's to be okay if you don't get there on time. Ooh, that's hard for me to say. What about a rainy vacation day? You only have 3 days in Mexico before you fly back, and you get there and it pours down rain the entire first day and you are mad because you didn't get to do what you wanted to do. Maybe God's allowing you to lay in the hotel room in the air conditioning and read a book or sleep, right? To just slow, amen. So slow down just a minute. So take the opportunity to take that and say, okay, what about a loan delay? You've been waiting on a loan for forever. Name what you were wanting the loan for. Okay. Then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. And you got to sit and wait. Maybe God's telling you, hold on just a minute. Maybe there's something around the corner that's better. And you got to wait just a minute. What about if a doctor's office is slow? Whew. That makes some of you real mad, huh? I don't go to the doctor, so that I ain't got to wait in the line. But if you get there and your appointment's at 9 o'clock and you have a business meeting at 10 that you have to attend, and the doctor's appointment is going to take 15 minutes and you don't get called back until 9:45. And now you're going to miss the business meeting. And now you're in big old trouble. Maybe God's trying to get you to slow down. What else? What about a flight delay? Okay, that's another bad one. You got to sit in the airport. Now you got to wait on another flight. You don't know if you're going to be home in time. Now you got to sit there with all these other stupid people in an airport while you're waiting, right? God's saying, slow down. These are the ones that I thought were really good, that God gives us daily almost, that we don't pay attention to. He gives us automatic ability to pause, to transition from one thing to another. And the older I get, the more these make more sense to me. Sunsets and sunrises. That's one good, the way our house is positioned. When you're standing in the kitchen window, you can see the sunset every afternoon. There's nothing between us and the sunset. So you can just watch it. He gives us the ability to have that, to go, whew. There's 8 minutes from the time the sun hits the horizon on the bottom until it disappears. So you have 8 minutes to just stop and watch the sun go down. What about foggy mornings? I just had one this week, that's why I wrote that down. You can't go anywhere fast. Well, you can, but you end up in a ditch. But I was leaving on Monday or Tuesday morning, and the fog was so thick, I could not see that I was on the road on Blewett. I was driving, and I kept having to put my tire on the edge on purpose and get in the grass and come back on, because you could not see in front of the truck. And I drove that way all the way down Blewett. And I told myself at the time, I'm going to be late. Well, I wasn't late, first off. And number two, I had that ability to slow down and think, man, how cool is this? When in your life are you going to be in an opportunity you can't see nothing, So that's kind of neat. What about a starry night? God gives us the ability. Say you let the dogs out at night. Or you got to go put the chicken pen, close the door because your wife didn't do it. Or your husband didn't do it. You have the ability to stop for just a minute. God gave you that. Put it there so you can look and slow down and pause. Maybe your kid wants to play. You're busy, busy. And your little one runs up and wants you to stop and play for just a minute. Maybe God's giving you that to say, hey, this is an automatic, I give you this. I'm giving you this to pause. Coffee time. Woo! That's one of Stephen's favorite times. He didn't want to look at anybody, talk to anybody. He wants to drink his coffee. You ever want to really tick him off? Go to his house when he's trying to drink coffee. You're welcome, Stephen. When the internet is out, okay, the TV's down. Oh my gosh, right? This is an automatic, God gave you this opportunity to get out and go do. So, now we've named all these potential transitions in our life, right? All these things that we have the ability to stop. How do we do this? So how do you transition? You may have something that you do for transition already, but I'm going to give you something that if you don't, you can use, or if what you're doing right now is not working, okay? Take out your phone. Somebody that has the pause app on their phone, take it out real quick. So, John Eldredge, he writes a bunch of books. And I tried to listen to a lot of his stuff online. Tried to listen to his messages and everything. I have to read him. I can't listen to him. But my point is, he does this pause, this 1 minute pause, then a 3 minute pause, and a 5 minute pause. So this week, I want you to download that app. I want you to try this. Call out in your life where you need a transition. I do mine at 8 o'clock in the morning. I've been at work since 6:30. So it's after the production meetings in the morning, and it's before the crazy of the rest of the morning. And I have the opportunity to sit at my desk and just talk for a little bit. And then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I do it again before I leave work. So I can say, whoosh, in transition. I can take my work boots off and put on my go home clothes, right? And just slow down for just a minute so I can go home. So pick out those moments in your day where you know you have the ability and do this pause. Take the 1 minute pause. So show the background. Somebody have it, you can show the background what it looks like. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different things you can scroll through. There's 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, and 10 minute. The 10 minutes, whew, that's a little long. I'm just going to be honest. My ADD, I start counting squares in the tiles and I can't pay attention to it. Download the pause app. It's free. It takes literally 3 seconds to download on your phone. Once it's downloaded, use it. Use it during those time periods where you need transition. Maybe it's an opportunity, stuff is just crazy and you can't slow your mind down. So you just use it at some point during the day. You can just hit the button and turn it on and stop. This is not a time to pray. This is not a time to process anything in your brain. This is not a time to think about what comes next. This is literally putting your body in neutral for about a minute or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, wherever you can stand, and stopping. Just be. Don't think. Just be. Just sit there. And you're going to have these intrusive thoughts. They're going to start jumping in, especially those of us that go. When they start coming in, block them out. And you'll get better at it. The more you do it, you'll just stop and breathe and be. So put these in your plan this week. That's what I'm saying. Put these in your plan. This is extremely inefficient. Okay? We are all about efficiency in our schedule and how fast we can go from one thing to the next. That's why guys don't close cabinet doors. I'll give you that one for free. So you ever get mad at your husband for not closing the cabinet door or the bathroom door or something like that? We're not done yet. When we're done, we'll close it. Okay? So it's an efficiency drill. It's in our brain. It's an efficiency thing. But these are oh so necessary for us to go throughout our days. So back up just a minute and think about it. Where do you need to call out a transition in your life? You need to actually have one during that time period. If you want, after this week is over with, tell me about it. Tell me what you did this week that made you stop, think about pausing, and pause. Whether you use the app or you're just pausing. If you haven't done anything, I ask you to use the app just because it's something. Because if we try to make it up ourselves, we're not good at it. It's like trying to do a Bible study with no Bible study book. The likelihood of you opening up your Bible and reading and doing a bunch of translation is probably not very good. But if you have a go-by, you can use a go-by. So use this pause app to just stop and listen to what he has to say. Give everything to God. Give everybody to God and ask him to fill you. He'll walk you through it in this 1 minute app.